Is the NASDAQ easier to trade than the ES when it comes to futures? Have I been doing it wrong this whole time? Now that I've been trading the NASDAQ for the past week, I'm starting to rethink why I should trade the NASDAQ more often. Gonna break it all down right here in this video. Let's go. Getting right into it here, you can see trading the NASDAQ today, locking in $3,500 in profit here in my Top Step account. The biggest winner was $3,925. My average winning trade, $1,741. I did have a loser today. I did get a little short, got squeezed on a short out at the open, but I switched right to a long right away. After I basically invalidated my short, I was like, okay, I'm going to get long. So I got long here at the 37s. We had to move all the way up there to the 76s for almost 40 points there on the NASDAQ with 5 contracts, baby. That's how we do it. I want to show you guys here on the book map what we've been looking at and why I think I might really kind of focus on the NASDAQ from here on out, and like kind of what my overall plan is with trading the NASDAQ versus trading the ES. In the past, I've talked about the ES versus the NASDAQ, right? We talked about how the NASDAQ really kind of is a little bit more volatile. It jumps up, it jumps down, like it's kind of just up and down really quickly, where the ES is a lot slower to move. And the reason for that is the ES has a lot more volume on it. There's a lot more volume on the ES compared to the NASDAQ. So when the NASDAQ moves, it can quickly move, 10, 20 points in a flash. Like it's like, whoa, 20 points instantly up or down, just because the liquidity is just not the same as the ES. Pulling up the book map right here, you can see on the NASDAQ right now, if you look over here on the right-hand side, some of the, like, basically the liquidity, right? You got like 17 contracts, 20. You got a big amount of contracts for the NASDAQ, at least like 60 contracts sitting there at the 68 level. And then if we like zoom out even more, I mean, you got 170 contracts up there at the 13,200 level. If we go over here and look at the ES, look at the difference. You got 200 contracts just pretty much always sitting there on the book. Pretty much there's always 200 contracts sitting here on the book. So that's why, you're not getting these like 10-point jumps up and down instantly. It's not just like magically, just quickly like going, because there's so much more liquidity, so much more volume on the ES compared to the NASDAQ. But I think there's an advantage to this, right? Like I think there's an advantage for me personally, the way that I trade and the way that I'm focused on the way the market moves is based on liquidity, where the market is moving and the overall flow, right? Like I want to be one with the flow. I want to be one with the market. And I think with the NASDAQ, if we really focus here on the book map, seeing those big areas of liquidity, I'm like, oh, I kind of have an idea where I think it's going to go. And especially if it lines up with my overall strategy in terms of like the trend or the breakout, things like that. So if we zoom out here on the book map, you can see earlier, we had a bunch of liquidity here at the 150 area. We were down at like the 75s. We pushed from the 75s all the way up there to the 150s. So that was like my target. We talked about it on the live stream all morning long, getting this breakout over the 80 area and then that 150 area being the target there. And you can see basically this big push up here. Kind of hard to show it in hindsight here, but you kind of get an idea. It's not the easiest to show it in hindsight, but we basically broke through this 80 right there. There's a big chunk of liquidity at the 80s right there. We start pushing up, the market's pushing up, and we pushed all the way up here to the 150s. We saw that 150 liquidity was sitting there, and that gave me a really good target to get that move up. And I know someone's going to comment and be like, well, yeah, it's easy to talk about in hindsight, but you can see I posted this 2 hours ago when the market was at the 120 area. I said, hey, I'm looking at that 150 area on the NASDAQ right now. Will that act as a magnet to push up there? That was also right where that pivot point was as well. Are you tired of losing money? Do you not have the right tools, the right plan? You don't have an idea of what to do. Your strategy's not working, right? You keep trying to make money, but you just can't figure it out. If you want to learn more, you want to get serious. Right now, we have the Market Flow Trader community. It's only $500 for a lifetime. You get all of the videos, all of the teaching, the one-on-ones, all of that stuff right there in the Market Flow Trader community. If you don't want to spend the money, you want to keep losing money, I'm totally fine with that as well. Like I said before, some people have to lose so that some people can win. Not everyone's going to win. It's just part of life. But if you're serious and you're tired of losing money over and over, keep buying the tops, keep trying to short at the bottom, things like that, and you want to learn the right way to trade, there's a link down below to learn more about the Market Flow Trader community. We also just signed up a new mindset coach. We got a lot of stuff coming on and new videos coming out in the course and in the community to talk about kind of what we're doing, what I'm looking at, what I'm adjusting, and how I'm making myself a better day trader every single day. So if you're serious, let's get into it. If you're not serious, then go ahead and go watch somebody else learn to lose money in the market. If you want to lose money, there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube that'll help you do that. Pulling up the Lux Algo indicator. This is the setup we've been talking about, the free setup. We have it right here on the channel. If you want to learn more, there's links down below. But this is basically the setup that we've been using for the last week or so. We had a breakout there at open. We had the signal to get long there above the 20s. We rallied all the way up there to the 80s on that move. And then again, another breakout there, the pullback. We had a couple more little signals through here, but I really have been loving these big moves in the NASDAQ right now. I know it's not always going to be this simple and easy. You're going to get choppy days, but like yesterday, we had a big trending day. Today, once again, getting another big trending day. I think there's still a possibility that the NASDAQ can go higher here and kind of squeeze back up. We saw all that liquidity at the 200 area there. Right now, we're sitting at the 166s. 200 is right there, so we're not too far from that area. If we look at the 15-minute chart here, same thing, just pushing and pushing. We're above the VWAP, we're above the 21 EMA there, and everything kind of working out beautifully. We have a pivot point that was right across here. So we have a pivot point right there at the 150s, and that's where we basically pushed up to that pivot. We had a pivot point at open at this 40 level, and you can see, I mean, there's like, it's too good sometimes. These pivot, there was a pivot right here at that 13,040. So we pushed through that pivot there, we pulled back, turned into support, and then pushed up that next pivot, which was also there, all that liquidity on the book map. So when you got a pivot point, when you got the liquidity, you got all those things lining up, it's like, hey, this is almost like too good to be true, right? This is too good to be true. Like, can it possibly keep going higher? Well, there it is, pushing higher. So right now on the book map, again, you can see here, we got this 170 area liquidity, right? We got that 170 area here on the NASDAQ right now. So the way that I'd be looking at this is like, if we can push through here, well, look, you got 180 sitting right there. So through the 70s, it's like right to the 180s pretty much. So let's see if it happens here. This is all live in the moment. We're pushing through the 170s. Your next target is basically that next level of liquidity. There's a little bit of liquidity at the 75s, but the bulk of the liquidity is at the 80s. So let's see if they're going to try to push up and break out here. We can see also on the indicator right now getting a buy signal for this push through the 70s. And let's see if they're going to push it to the 80s here. I talked about during the live stream, like, obviously, like, it gets to a point where the market is going to get more and more top heavy. You know, you get more and more like, oh, do I really want to get long here at the 170s after this big move up earlier? Like, do I want to keep chasing it? No, you obviously want to, like, that second move of the day is the, I'd say, the best and the strongest, the most consistent move that there is. Getting this move, the second move. So we had the big breakout. We broke out over the pre-market high or the overnight high there. We then squeeze up to that pivot, that 80 area. Now we talked about that 80 had liquidity sitting there, and we pulled back. And then we got the ramp. So right now you can see we're pushing up there 75. We had that liquidity there. So we are through the 70s to that next little area of liquidity. And then you got the 80s up there. And then after that, 200 still sitting pretty heavy. So I would not be surprised to see that the NASDAQ pushes to the 200 level here end of day. So right now on the book map, you can see what I've done is basically getting rid of all the little noise. Like, unless it's like a big order chunk, I don't really care about it. So basically getting rid of all that noise and just putting it all the way to get rid of pretty much everything that's not like over 20 or more contracts. So that 60 area there at the 63 contracts at 180, we tapped that 75 again. You got more liquidity kind of sitting here at the 66s right now. So if we can't kind of push through right here, I would say we test that 66 again. But what we're looking at when we're looking at the book map is like where these levels of liquidity are. Are we pushing up? Are we trending? Does the liquidity up at the 80 area, does it work with our overall thesis that the market's going to go higher, right? We're kind of justifying our setups based on the technical analysis here in terms of like looking at the move. Like right now we're breaking out. Okay, well, as long as we keep breaking out, keep pushing, well, then 180 makes more sense, right? Like 180 area makes more sense to push up than to pull back to the 140s. Like, it just makes more sense that we take out that liquidity at the 80s before moving. The market needs liquidity to move. And you can see right there, we pushed up to a high so far of 76. And it looks like it still could go possibly to the 80s. I mean, this is all live right now. And look at that. And they're to the 80s now. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Can I get any more on it right now? Like, I'm literally calling this out even during this video, doing a recap, calling out that trade there to the 80s. So it's that easy. I mean, it's not that easy. It's hard. Day trading is very, very difficult. You're probably going to end up losing all your money because you have no idea what you're doing. But if you really want to learn more about day trading, I have a course, a total entire community where you can learn everything that I go through and talk about. Look at it, still pushing 181s. This is all live in the moment right now, guys. This is not me after the fact talking about this stuff. This is happening in the very moment. You can see here on my thing right there, 7:40 time-wise, 7:40 here in Hawaii, which is 1:40 p.m. Look at it, still pushing 182s, 185s. It won't stop. It can't stop. Let's go. Oh my God, it's still going. We're going to the 200s. It's going to the 200s today. Like I said, 200s on the liquidity there. Market's going to the moon. It's that simple. When the market wants to go higher, let it go higher. When the market wants to go down, let it go lower. I don't care either way. I have no bias. I don't care which way the market goes, as long as it goes, right? That's all I care about. The market's moving, we're trading it. We don't care about anything other than one simple thing. Is the market moving? And that's all we care about. It doesn't matter. If it's going sideways, we're not trading. If it's going up, we're trading. If it's going down, we're trading. That's simple. There it is. If you guys haven't tuned in every morning, we're live 9:15 a.m. Hit that subscribe button right now. Let's go.